The hope for Africa has been rising commodity prices. And we can watch oil as an example, because the price of oil, the dollar per barrel of Brent crude, has zigzagged. It was $145 2008. It went down to $26 a year ago. And now it's in the 50 range. And the big question for Africa is, well, Nigeria and Angola and several other oil-producing countries have been nailed, and they're in default mode, more or less. They're really in trouble. And that's because this price is way below the cost of production, and they're losing money, and the big corporates are not reinvesting. The fiscal capacity of their governments is very weak. They can't afford social programs anymore. So that means we'll have more riots as the governments pull back on supporting people. We've had a little bit of it here. Pravin Gordhan, for the sake of stability, has had to cut poor people's grants in real terms. So after inflation, our massive 17 million people who get in grants get less each year. It's that kind of, let me call it austerity, that I will anticipate. We've already seen since 2015, when the commodity prices really crashed, that countries like Zambia lost half of their value of their currency. Their kwacha just crashed in half and more. Angola even more. Mozambique is going through the same sort of big financial crash. So any imported goods cost more too, because you're paying many, many more of your local currency units for the imports. Those are the kinds of man in the street, or the ordinary person effects of continuing turbulence as Donald Trump sucks money into the US, as world financial markets get skittish, as African countries have to increase their interest rates to keep the money coming in and keep it from flowing out. And what's needed is a break from that. And the classic case is the World Economic Forum. It's happening in Davos, Switzerland now. We're going to have an Africa World Economic Forum in Durban the first few days of May. Will our rulers, who are pretty subservient, they like to talk left, but they walk right. They're pretty subservient to those Davos kind of forces. Even Nelson Mandela in 1992, he went to Davos. He said, okay, guys, no more nationalization in Davos. They told me we can't do any more nationalization. Forget that part of the Freedom Charter. So this is a very powerful, not a conspiracy, but it's a think tank zone where the minds of our people, led by Cyril Ramaphosa, will still be tracked into export, liberalize, let the money flow out, raise your interest rates, cut your budget. That's the logic. That logic is getting the ANC out of power by 2019, because it's hurting too many people, and they'll either go to the right, to the DA, or actually I think more will do a left move, which is to the EFF, maybe a workers' party if NUMSA gets that going. Luckily, South Africa does not have Donald Trump. In France, they do. Marine Le Pen may become the president. In Holland, they do. Geert Schippers. They've got all these, and then Britain, they had a Brexit. So the right-wing populist can attract alienated people who are economically oppressed. We have a lot of them here. Thank goodness, Eugene Terreblanche or any equivalent in the African political scene has not ever risen to the point where we can say right-wing populism is a threat in South Africa the way it is in the US, Europe, the Philippines, where there's a new dictator, Duterte, who's a right-wing populist, Turkey, Pakistan. These are sites where we would be very worried that Trumpism is contagious.